Meet Chad and Jared Moldenhauer, the founders of Studio MDHR and the creators of the critically acclaimed run-and-gun Cuphead. Cuphead took the world by storm when it was released in 2017 and won multiple awards for art direction, style, and uniqueness. It is widely regarded by many to be one of the most visually impressive games to date. So, how was Cuphead created and what inspired it? To answer these questions, we have to go back to the early roaring 1920s. Our story begins with Max and Dave Fleischer, two brothers and animators working for the Bray Studio, quitting their jobs to start their own animation studio in 1921. They set up shop under the name Inkwell Studios and produced a small animated series called Out of the Inkwell. Cuphead's first starting zone is called Inkwell Island, a nod to the Fleischer brothers who would go on to become the main inspiration for the Moldenhauers. In 1924, Inkwell would hire veteran animator Dick Humer, who redesigned the first character the Fleischers created, simply named the Clown. The goal of the redesign was to make the clown's animation style more fluid and human. Humer adapted the clown in the rubber hose style of animation, popularized by artist Bill Nolan. Rubber hose animation refers to the very fluid, wavy movement of characters, giving them more articulation and exaggerated features. Felix the Cat, Popeye, Betty Boop, Mickey Mouse, and Bimbo the Dog would go on to become the most popular defining cartoons of this style. Growing up, the Moldenhauers would watch these cartoons, mainly the works created by the Fleischers. They were drawn to the art style and the absurdity of it. They also grew up heavily influenced by video games, as many people probably already know by now, with the most notable influencer being Contra. As video games grew in popularity, Chad and Jared found themselves drawn to the idea of making one themselves. They toyed with the idea for years but found they lacked the technical know-how to accomplish their goal, though they never let go of that ambition. Chad started a career in graphic design and Jared began working at his father's construction business, though they would always revisit the idea of making a game. It wouldn't be until 2010 that they would try their hand at actually making something, spurred on by the popularity of the indie game explosion and the success of Super Meat Boy. They went through hundreds of character designs, trying to get the feel for the world that they would make, the bosses and the characters, but the designs never hit them right. Then they decided to do what they'd always wanted, make a hand-drawn game with that same rubber hose animation style they loved from their childhood. The character Cuphead actually came from an old World War II Japanese propaganda film. The cartoon was strange as hell and featured cartoon Mickey Mouses dive-bombing and kamikazing in cartoon planes. But after the Moldenhauers drew Cuphead for the first time, they knew that it was what they wanted. The task was, however, monstrous. Every character was drawn from scratch and animated over and over and over again until they got it right. Then it was inked over and over and over again. It was an unbelievable undertaking that would span years. The Moldenhauers would get off work, come home to their studio/house, and work until they went to bed. They became so dedicated to the task that they actually remortgaged their home and studio to finish the game that they'd always wanted. They went into some serious debt to make this game happen. Cuphead's first premiere was at Microsoft 2014 at their E3 conference and visually stood out to fans, despite only 30 seconds of the trailer being shown. Everyone went nuts with excitement and curiosity, which only emboldened the Moldenhauers' work. Cuphead would show up again in 2015 and 2016, further exciting fans, though some lamented the lengthy development process. However, with the hand-drawn animation and the small development team, less than 15 people, it couldn't progress any faster than it did. Finally, on September 29, 2017, Cuphead was ready. It was released to the world and almost overnight became a sensational hit, selling over 1 million copies within the first 2 weeks of release. An incredible feat for an incredible game. Although some critics were harsh on the game's difficulty, anyone who played the game can agree that when you die, it's because you made the mistake, not the mistake of the game itself. It was tight, it was responsive, polished, difficult, and absolutely visually stunning. Chad and Jared had gambled their very livelihoods to chase their dream. The success of Cuphead and the monumental amount of work that went into the game belongs solely to the Moldenhauers and the development team behind Studio MDHR. They had achieved their dream despite it taking 20+ years, and so many resources that it could very well financially ruin them had the game not been a success. It took thousands of hours of work, passion, ambition, and determination to make this game. And I personally can't wait to see what comes next out of Studio MDHR.